Welcome to a live episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation, and welcome to another episode of Surviving the Survivor, the podcast that promises to bring you the very best guests in all of true crime. Happy Monday to you. We are on case hearing watch here for Donna Adelson, and none other than best guest Jared Ross, who went to high school a little bit with Charlie Adelson, knew Dan, knew Wendy. What better guest to have on? Happy Monday to you, Jared. Jared, you and I saw each other bright and early and bushy-tailed this morning, having done court TV with the lovely and inimitable Julie Grant. How are you, Jared Ross?
I'm doing well. A little more awake than I was this morning, but good to be with you again, Joel.
I'm the opposite. I start to lose steam this time of day. Excuse me. Carmen and I actually just did, there's a radio show that emanates from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, called Strange Planet with Richard Serrett. And Carmen and I did an hour with him, and we talked the Barry and Honey Sherman case. For those who do not know, Google Barry and Honey Sherman, the 12th wealthiest couple in Canada, were murdered back in 2017. The case is still unsolved. But then, of course, we talked about Dan Markel. And Jared, the question that Richard Serrett, by the way, he hosts a show called Coast to Coast. It is the most listened to overnight radio show in the world. They get something like 10 million listeners a night. And he hosts Coast to Coast on weekends. And I've been listening to Coast to Coast since 1996. And he just invited Carmen and I to be his guests on Coast to Coast, which is like the equivalent of Brad Pitt asking my wife out. She would be ecstatic, even though I don't think it would be more like if Adam Sandler asked my wife out on a blind date. She'd be beside herself. She wouldn't know. She has a huge crush. My wife has a huge crush on two random weird people. What's his name? Who did I just say? I just said
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler. God, I'm getting dementia very early. She has a huge crush on Adam Sandler, but perhaps bigger than Adam Sandler, she has a crush on Bill Burr, the comedian. So me being invited on Coast to Coast is like her being asked out on a date by either Adam Sandler and here's Asian American legal focus, Bill Burr. But the question that was asked of us,
looks like she just said also Paul Rudd.
Oh, maybe Paul Rudd too. Paul Rudd. Yes. Who knows? Maybe all three will ask you out at once.
I think maybe the COE has a type.
Nerdy.
You,
Jewish.
Adam nerdy Jewish guys.
Yeah.
My wife does too. So
yeah, look at this. Adam Sandler is hot. I would never think that those would be the words. Would you ever think that anyone would describe Adam Sandler as hot, Jared?
That's interesting. You know that he actually is married to a girl from Parkland, Florida, which is just up the road from where Charlie and I went to high school.
Now, here's a man who is truly hot in his car, but also the sex factor. What's up, Tim Jansen?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hey,
you hearing us okay?
I can hear you great.
All right. Tim Jansen is dropping weight like Muhammad Ali before a heavyweight fight, man. This guy's leaning out. Tim Jansen, I was just saying, we're discussing non-Wendy Adelson stuff as we await. By the way, this hearing is being brought to us by the courthouse, the Leon County Courthouse, via Zoom. The COE and Space Coast did a run-through, and it worked. But let's see if it works when it's happening live in about it's supposed to happen in about 9 minutes, and we're doing what's called vamping, which is filling time. Look at this. But Tim, right as you came on, we were talking about why my wife is attracted to Adam Sandler, Bill Burr. Bill Burr's not really a nerdy Jewish guy. He's
but three of the four
Yeah, Paul Rudd is a nerdy Jewish guy. But then someone weighed in saying that Tim Jansen is hot. Look at this, Abby Crossing. Our Tim Jansen is indeed hot stuff. But
Thank you
anyway,
so
so
much.
I was telling Jared that we were doing this. Carmen and I did this radio show out of Toronto, and the question was, will Wendy be next? Tim Jansen, you still saying no? Is that right?
You know, I wish I knew. Um, I wish I knew more. I've been out of town. I haven't really been in touch with my sources, but everything doesn't look like she's going to be charged. Why haven't they charged her yet? You know,
Mm.
it
Yep.
looks like Mentor Lawyer got a bunch of these Freedom of Information Act information, and nothing there implicates Wendy that I saw.
Shout out to Mentor for getting that. We have put in a request for our own information. We're hoping to do a show on Wednesday night on some of the new evidence, just to lay out the lay of the land for the next few days here. Look at this, Phil Markel. Hi guys, I'm watching live for about 40 minutes before my next. Thank you, Phil. This is the great Phil Markel, who is Dan's father, obviously. And for those who did not see it, there's a lot of you that did not. The video is going to get a lot more views as we get closer to trial. Phil, for the very first time, being the mensch that he is, he sat down with us from Toronto and did an hour and 30-minute full-length interview, the first full-length interview that he has ever done. He had the I don't know, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. He had the belief that we would handle it correctly, and we did. And super happy that Phil was able to do that. More importantly, I'm happy to kind of consider Phil Markel a father figure, having lost mine. So Phil is here watching, and obviously they're going to be watching this case hearing as well, which we're going to get into in just a moment. But just to let everybody know, by the way, we're going to be doing a lot going into this trial and some special shows on Patreon. So please join us on Patreon if you haven't done so already. Tonight, 7 o'clock, we're doing a show on this case hearing, what we learned from it, and all the different tentacles that this case has. Tomorrow night, we're doing something called witness projection, not to be confused with witness protection. It's my clever idea. Witness projection. We are going to look at possible witnesses in this case. And Wednesday, same thing, but different. We're going to be looking at some of the new evidence. So 3 days of Dan Markel and the Adelsons to start the week. And Thursday, a book signing here in Miami at Books and Books, but at 12:30 p.m. on Thursday. I've got Howard Bloom, who just wrote a book about Brian Kohberger, J. Reuben Appelman, who wrote the first book about the murders, as well as two-time Reporter of the Year in Idaho, Kevin Fixler. All three of them will be on to discuss Kohberger. It's been a while since we've talked about that. Howard Bloom, in his new book, he was a New York Times reporter for many years. Dan's yahrzeit, of course, which is the Jewish anniversary of death, is July 26th, which is this Friday. So keep that on your calendars. But long story short, we have not done Brian Kohberger in a long time. Howard Bloom, one of the authors we have on, he just wrote a book about it, and he contends in his book that Brian Kohberger was targeting Madison Mogen, one of the four victims. So we're going to ask him about that. So we've got an amazing week of shows lined up. Let me go to the practicing attorney, Tim Jansen, who's practicing on vacation right now up in Cape Cod. But Tim, what do we expect, or should we expect, from this case management hearing, which, by the way, again, is coming to us through the Leon County Court? They're always a little tricky. The COE and Space Coast are on it. Tim, what are you expecting?
Well, I think you're probably going to have some. They're going to have some issues, maybe some motions that they're going to have done. Experts, and maybe some objections, some discovery violations. There might be. I hope it's not a motion to continue. I haven't seen any motions filed that are, pending that stand out. We would have seen something. So it may just go to typical thing. Where are we on this? How long you think it's going to take? What issues do we have? Motions of it due this time? Are you having any problems? Do you need anything? That's what I'm kind of thinking. Unless you guys know something I don't know.
Jared, everyone in chat for some reason is saying, man, I hope they don't push the trial date back. They already switched the trial date because originally it was during the Jewish holidays. They bumped it up a little. Do you think that we might see a new trial date? I hope not, because I'm excited to come up there September 17th.
No, to Tim's point, we haven't heard anything here in town about that. We haven't seen any motions for continuance. There's been no discussion. And everybody seemed to want to get this trial going, including the defense. So even leading up to this, you know, if you remember early on, there was the talk about having a hearing in March, and they wanted it in January. I mean, they've wanted this to go pretty quickly. So I don't foresee us having any pushback at this point. But, you know, to Tim's point, you never know. My question would be, Tim, do you think there will be any more discussion about conflict? You know, especially
No.
You don't think so?
With her representing Charlie, him representing Charlie? No, I don't think so. I did see the state is going to call Charlie as a witness. So
Yeah, and that's why I asked. You know, with having him on that list, do you think there'd be any more discussion about that? I know people are just concerned about that, and I know she's already waived conflict, and he has too. But
I think that Dan would have called Georgia and asked her, "Why are you calling him? Is it privilege?" And of course, they'll give him immunity by giving him the subpoena, so he has to testify. And I think we would have seen a motion filed by now. Oh, we may hear something today. Maybe something today will come up.
By the way, we're about 2 minutes away from when this is supposed to start. Stephen Everett, the judge presiding over this case, is usually on time.
Yep.
I see the COE pressing a lot of buttons behind the scenes, and I do see Judge Everett's face on camera now, which is a great sign. So hopefully the COE can get this. Again, this is a very tricky Zoom for some reason. A lot of the bigger networks have an issue taking this live. I don't know why. It should be easier, but I do see Judge Stephen Everett's face behind this backstage here. So let's see what happens. Tim Jansen, Abby Crossing, I guess, asking if she could rescind a request for a speedy trial.
Sure.
She could do that today. That's
Absolutely.
possible.
You can ask for speed. What you're saying at speedy trial is, I'm ready for trial right now. I'm ready for trial. And then something can come up and they say, well, Judge, something came up. We're not ready now. We got some discovery. We rescind it. We don't need to have a speedy trial. But yeah, and it's the defense's speedy trial, not the government's speedy trial.
Right.
I still can't get over this.
See and
There he
hear
is.
me. She'll be able to hear you all through the mics.
Let's
If you
listen
want
in
to
now.
log in, go ahead and do that now yourselves, please.
This is Judge Stephen Everett.
You can radio them to turn on their video and audio.
From what I understand, Donna Sue Adelson will be coming live via Zoom from the Leon County Jail.
Just also need to
Ironically,
make
she
sure-
is stuck in Tallahassee, and the judge now,
For
Judge
anyone
Stephen
else
Everett.
who is on the Zoom call, if you can respond in the chat, if you can actually hear me, make sure that I can be heard.
I'm going to watch this with you guys. We'll just sit in and listen in. Every time I see Judge Stephen Everett, I think of the Metro Deli right there on whatever. What street is that, Jared? What's
Monroe.
the main?
North
Monroe. When
Yep.
Carmen and I went up for a book signing at Hearth and Soul, shout out to Hearth and Soul. By the way, we're going to be doing another event at Hearth and Soul during this trial. The great Steve Cohn will be there for that one, and myself. And but
Hey,
anyway,
Joel, I'm working today. I'm seeing Judge Everett. I'm in court today.
there you go, Tim. You never look better retired, Tim Jansen, even though you're not fully retired yet, but you're looking relaxed. You look.
Very.
Does anyone think Tim Jansen is losing too much weight? Let me know in the comments.
Well, half the battle is getting logged with the machine.
I love Judge Everett. But anyway, I took Carm to the Metro Deli, but during the trial for Charlie, people spotted Judge Everett at the Metro Deli. So I was thinking of him when I was there. Apparently, he likes that joint as well.
For
If you
those
haven't
of
gone
us
to
that work downtown, we eat there a lot. So
Jared, do me a favor. Next time you're in there, say, look, for the trial, you better get Metro Deli T-shirts. I want one. I've asked for them. Every time I go in there, they're like, oh, we'll get them in a few weeks. So you got to give them
I
the
will let
lead.
them know.
Yeah, please
Right, I
do.
see her now. Miss Adelson, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, here we go, everyone.
Give me one moment. I only hear your audio coming through, not the overhead speaker. Right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Isaac, I think this is only coming through my computer.
I'm glad we're not the only ones with technical difficulties. I'm glad to see Judge Stephen Everett struggling a little bit, as sick as that sounds.
Technology is great until it doesn't work.
Yes. Donna looking much different at first glance. Jared, hair is whiter, no makeup, but she looks strong.
Yeah, and she actually looked relaxed.
Adelson, want to test your audio one more time. If you can tell me the name of your high school mascot.
It's been a few years. Oh my God. I cannot tell you. I don't remember my high school mascot.
These are the things that are burned into the brain, but anyways, not why we're here. We can hear you now over the loudspeaker.
Okay.
Video and your audio is working. All right, we're here today for a status before we get to, I believe, some of our cutoffs and also our deadlines. I'll allow both parties to be heard if the state wishes to go first.
State does not wish to be heard today. We're ready for trial and intend to comply with the deadlines that the court gave. The defense and I did have one agreement about a deadline that they possibly.
That's Sarah Dugan.
2 weeks. They had asked if they could push back the demonstrative exhibit deadline till September 4th. We don't have an issue with that. We believe we'll be able to comply with everything in the judge's order. The only Sergeant Corbett's presentation sometimes can take a little longer, as I know last time it changed a couple of times before trial, just minor changes that he made. We were able to keep defense up to speed with that and had agreements as to that. We've talked about that and intend to do the same thing this time if we could have the deadline of September 4th for our demonstrative exhibits. We can give him a pretty finalized rough draft of that by that point, and any minor changes that do need to be made, talk to the defense about that after that time.
All right. If the defense can explain why you would like this to be pushed back, and the only reason I ask this question is because once everything is filed pursuant to the deadlines, we need to have probably at least a 2 or 3 hour hearing on all pretrial motions. So I don't want the start of the trial to be bogged down by needing a ruling on a particular issue or motion, but I'll allow you to explain.
Judge, I think the construction of some of the demonstratives, in this case, it was a different case factually than those that have been tried before. But just the construction of them meshing them with electronics that we're going to have available, I would just like, we got some recovery in as well. That is going to be incorporated in
And I assume both sides are going to want the headsets and the various audio media aspects for the jury once again.
Yes, sir.
Very well. Then going back to the order setting the procedure dates and also the deadlines as far as any demonstrative exhibits, then I will permit both sides to have until September 4th To ensure all demonstrative exhibits are traded between the two parties. As far as the witness list and the exhibit list itself, there's really no reason why August 12th that cannot be met, correct?
That's fine, Judge.
That's correct. We would like it to be so that, likewise, Judge, if you have an agreement with the Appleman with respect to some of the standards by way of example, Donna Adelson emails, but it won't be more specific than that in prior listings. Talking to Ms. Appleman about being more specific when they're listed, with the understanding and the caveat that that would be a rolling list that could be supplemented. Just to bring focus to it, rather than digging through 50 hours of recordings or 5,000 emails or other things. So if you want me to do anything on that, that's what our agreement is. But on this, our August 12th deadline will remain the same.
All right. Do we need to address the modification to the trial date any further as to September 17th being the first day of selection?
No, sir.
Right. Time-wise, I would expect we're probably going to be similar to the last trial where we have at least 3 days or 4 days of selection. Assuming we are successful, we would get started, and then we would have about a week or maybe a week plus of trial. Do the parties have a differing expectation of this?
That shouts the number of witnesses. Some of those are will be more focused once we get to August 12th, but I had some concern with the volume of witnesses that we want.
Well, good thing I help everyone along in this process.
Now, that may drastically track. There are several of the witnesses that are very, very short and simple things that we need to know that stipulate knock those things out of the way. But I would be leery of telling you that it all falls within the confines of 1 week. Like 2 weeks, you can push hard for.
Okay. Well, we have until, or you have until August 12th, I should say, to iron out aspects of this. Ms. Dugan, at least preemptively, would you expect the state's case to last for about a week once again?
Yes, sir. And I think last time or the last 2 times we have been able to pick a jury in 2 or 3 days, and the state's case took about 5 days. I would expect for it to be about the same.
Very well. Are there any other issues that either party needs to raise for the status as of today?
Good. We're going to be filing several motions, some of which you've never heard before. And some of them are going to deal with, for instance, just so the other side knows, we are going to move to Sergeant Corbett's testimony, which
Very well.
will affect the hostages, but we think we can do that even without seeing. But one of the motions that we intend on filing, I just want to let the court know beforehand because it might affect scheduling of courtrooms. We're going to ask that the trial not be in this courtroom.
For 3G?
What's that?
For this courtroom, 3G?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The trial be held in your courtroom 3G. And we have a variety of reasons why we think that courtroom will afford our client better due process than this courtroom does. And so we're filing that motion and we'll file it on time. But I just want to give you a heads up so that if there's a scheduling issue, you're aware that motion is down.
Very well. Really, until I can see the motion and the state makes its argument, I won't be able to make a ruling on it, and that'll happen in time. As far as selection itself, though, we may still need to use this courtroom just to hold the sheer volume of prospective jurors that are needed. But as to the courtroom the trial will occur in, that certainly we can address with the motion.
And the motion, contemplates
Right. Ms. Dugan, any additional matters the state needs to address for today's hearing?
No, sir.
Very well. To go back to the scheduling order, Our next set of deadlines will be discovery on August 12th, the motion filing deadline August 12th, the witness list and exhibit list also on August 12th. And I believe our pretrial hearing, not referring to the motion hearings that will be filed, but just the final pretrial will be September 12th at 9 o'clock. Mr. Morris?
With the advent of some of the new discovery, never take the deposition, work with Ms. Houghton. We can coordinate this by doing it necessary with this battle. We can bring it up. There's probably a chance that the depot dates that are going to be after the August 12th date that they will be set and noticed at that point. Hope that.
Set, noticed, meets the deadline, hopefully, so this doesn't become a similar issue like it did last time. If we need to address a particular aspect of discovery that needs to occur, possibly after the 12th, go ahead and move in advance for that so it does not become an issue of anyone violating the deadline or attempting to take or seek discovery after the deadline is passed. Okay. All right, with that being said, this status is coming to an end unless anyone has anything else you need to bring to my attention.
Nothing, sir.
All right. Ms. Adelson, were you able to listen and follow along to my discussion with the attorneys?
I could hear you. I could hear nothing that the attorneys were saying.
All right. I really can't ask them to repeat themselves in full, but your counsel have asked to set back one of the deadlines to September 4th. I have agreed to do that concerning demonstrative exhibits. All other deadlines are going to remain in place. They will speak with you concerning any other issues that you need to discuss with them about today's status. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. We are in recess. Have a good day, everyone.
Short and sweet. The entire hearing lasted about 13 minutes. Of note, Donna Sue Adelson looked to be in good spirits. Jared, before we get to the nitty gritty of the motions, what did you make of the way Donna Sue appeared, Jared Ross?
I think it's clear she's had some conversations with her attorneys about demeanor and how to come across. She's certainly a different person than what we saw in that first hearing where she had to be chastised by the judge for her outbursts, and she just looks a lot more comfortable, a lot more relaxed. Other than not remembering her high school mascot, I think she looked just fine.
Who forgets their high school mascot? I was an owl. What were you, Jared?
I had two high schools. My first high school in New Jersey, we were the Mustangs. And then when I moved to Florida, the Terravilla Trojans.
There you go. By the way, the COE was a Mustang as well. I think in maybe both her high school and college. But Tim Jansen, what was your high school mascot, Tim Jansen?
We were the Patriots.
Who forgets a high school mascot?
Yeah.
I don't understand that. My dad, may he rest in peace, used to sing his Camp Bunk song to me. We are the something of bunk something. But anyway, Donna Sue Adelson, no makeup, gray hair, eyeglasses, but she seemed to be in good spirits. Tim Jansen, are you surprised by that before we get on to the court proceedings, that she looked jovial?
No, I think she's assimilating, if you can assimilate in a county jail. She's a strong person. I think she's preparing for this trial differently than Charlie did. And I think we're going to see a much smarter, better behaved Donna in trial. So we'll see how it goes.
Sorry to hear this, Marcia. She was an acorn. That was their mascot, the Acorns. That's an odd mascot, I think. But so Tim Jansen, One of the first issues that came up, and you duly noted, it was Sarah Dugan. It was very hard to hear her audio, as well as Daniel Rashbaum, the lead defense counsel for Donna, and was also lead defense counsel for Charlie Adelson. The defense, Tim, asked to push back demonstrative exhibits till September 4th. Why? What is that?
Well, they're probably trying to get some done. Maybe some new discovery came in and they're trying to make the exhibits and they're getting them professionally done. They're not done yet. And they're afraid.
17th. But interestingly, Judge Stephen Everett, I think he was just kind of throwing this out there with all due respect to him, but he said a 1-week trial. Do you really think that's possible from jury selection to the end? I don't see any way how that would be possible.
Well, I think he was referring to about a week long of testimony and exhibits, so not including jury selection. I think he was meaning about, a week of actual trial time. And if you recall, they had actually put aside over 2 weeks for Charlie's trial, and it actually took less than that. I think from the start of jury selection to the actual verdict, I think it was it 9 days or 11 days, something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if with jury selection and everything else, they're able to get it done in about 10 days or so.
Tim Jansen, by the way, K Long, Westfield, New Jersey, the Blue Devils like Duke. However, you're also the home of John List. I'm from Jersey, K. So you got to be careful there in Westfield, New Jersey. I have some good friends in Westfield. Tim Jansen. The big issues here, 3 or 4 days of jury selection, a week or week plus of trial. We're going to get a pretrial hearing on September 12th. Any of this unusual in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I think the thing that stood out to me is they want to do the trial in a separate courtroom and they want a smaller courtroom. He said it violates her due process. I think he's trying to limit the amount of people that can come in. I'm curious to see how a different courtroom would provide more due process to Donna, and that's a motion that they're going to file. The jury selection's in the bigger one because it holds more people, but Judge Everett's courtroom is smaller, and it has less room for people to visit and watch. I wonder if they're trying to keep people out.
Jared, pick up on that. Tim, you're cutting in a little bit, but I'm going to go to Jared. That's obviously the one outlier from this motion that stood out to everybody. Daniel Rashbaum saying he's going to file a motion he said something right before that about informing the court that he was going to call a certain witness. I couldn't quite make that out. It sounded like someone from law enforcement. I could be making that up in my head, but I could not really hear him. Did you hear that, Jared?
I heard him mention something about a motion related to one of the detectives' testimony, Corbett's
Sergeant
testimony. Yeah,
Corbett's he's the phone analysis and
right.
And Zoom, the geographic placing.
But Tim, so what was he asking for there?
I couldn't hear it. I heard Corbett, Sergeant Corbett, but I didn't hear he wants some special motion.
I didn't know. Was he going to try and file a motion to exclude his testimony?
Well, he's going to have a hard time doing that.
Yeah, again, I couldn't hear it either. Much like Donna, we couldn't hear the attorneys. I tried turning my volume up as loud as I could, and I heard it a little better once I did that. But yeah, there was definitely a motion related to Corbett's testimony. And then again, like Tim said, something, he wants the smaller courtroom. I honestly cannot understand how a courtroom violates due process, but we'll be able to read the motion and find out what he's talking about.
Fancy Fiction here joining the chat. For those of you who do not know, Fancy is one of the OGs on this case. Tim Jansen, she writes that courtroom move violates the public's right to watch due process. He's not a cool dude for that. Shady. Tim, I mean, do you agree with what Fancy's saying here? I really am not. I'm really not following. He wants to. Are you saying that he wants to limit the number of people who are coming in to what end? I mean,
Well,
whether
I
it's
haven't
50
seen the
or
motion, but he said cryptically that the other courtroom doesn't gives her less due process. So I would take it that only one of two things, right? One, the people are too close to the defense and they can hear and see what they're writing towards the other, or he thinks that the jury's being intimidated because there's too many visitors coming into the courtroom. I can't think of another reason why he would be able to say that a bigger courtroom is less due process.
And Tim, is there any like gamesmanship? Is there like is there the possibility? And by the way, Dan listens to the show, so hello, Dan. Um, no, no hard feelings, but we're trying to figure this out, Dan. I mean, is there Tim? Is there gamesmanship? Would you file motions sometimes just to kind of maybe throw the state off their game or create some kind of question as to why you're doing something?
Sometimes there does come emotion that you're not going to do, and you're supposed to file everything in good faith that you may introduce a piece of evidence, but sometimes you do it. Maybe you're going to do it, but maybe it'll throw off the prosecution. Maybe if I do this, they won't call that witness who's but I agree with Fancy, though. The public has a right to this trial. The public has the right to go watch the trial, and that to move to a smaller courtroom because they want less people, that would be a violation of the public's right to appear and watch public trials. And I don't think
And
Everett would grant that on that reason.
so you think it would be denied? That was my next question.
I think it will be, unless he can come up with a reason. I don't know
Yeah.
what that reason is because we haven't seen the motion.
Well, listen, Steve Cohen and I are dragging our asses up there, so they better let us in that courtroom. But Fancy Fiction here with another comment for Tim Jansen. There were issues with Sergeant Corbett sitting in the courtroom during testimony because he was a witness, so they waived the rule. Explain this to us, Tim, as to why.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was listed as an expert witness. Expert witnesses are allowed to sit in the courtroom and watch testimony and then give their opinion because they're allowed to give opinions. Normally, the rules of sequestration, if they're invoked, say you can't have a witness in the courtroom watching before they testify. Now, I don't know if and when they did invoke the rule, but I believe that he's called as an expert and he can sit there and now maybe they're limiting what he can testify to as an expert. That might be their fight.
Iris Smith, look at this. I want to hear Carm's legal analysis. Let me make a joke on the spot. What's the difference between Tim Jansen and Carmela Waldman? Tim does not know everything about the law. Carm thinks she does. So Carm will gladly give you her analysis. Tim almost knows everything, but Carm really does. Jared, not to get off the beaten path here, but Jimmy McNutty, who was with us for Karen Reed, some people claim I have a bromance with him, that I favor him. It could be true, and I'm going to meet him at my book signing in LA on August 15th. But he pointed out to me that Cal is visiting FSU on the 21st. Can you assure me and Steve Cohen that somehow, some way, we will get into that stadium? I don't want to be like a soccer fan here in Miami where we run through the barricaded ticket entrance. I want to do it legally. What are the chances that Steve Cohen and I get in to see a Cal FSU game, my first ever FSU game?
I think you'll have no issues getting in that stadium. We'll make sure it happens. Now, I will say tickets are limited this year because the stadium is under renovation, but we will make sure that you get into that game.
Jared, for that, I love you. So,
Mr. Audio,
but you have to make sure you're wearing garnet and gold.
I will. Trust me. I never knew what garnet was until the day that Georgia Kappelman wore garnet, I think, in the closings. And then I heard that word nonstop. But I will be wearing my garnet and gold. I actually bought an aquamarine FSU T-shirt from
the heritage look.
Can I wear that? Will I be booed out of the state? Okay.
No, absolutely not. That's acceptable.
Okay, that's got a giant.
That's in honor of the Seminole tribe of Florida. So, yep.
by the way, I don't really want to get off the trail here, but I will right now. So, Jared, as you know, you have a boy and a girl, and us dads, we favor our boys. There's no other way to put it. So, we just got back from Chicago. I got my girls a hat, but I got my son a jersey. I'm a bad dad, but in the process, a Cubs jersey, a little Cubs jersey. But prior to realizing I was going to get him that jersey, and Carm's going to yell at me because I'm spending money here. She's going to scream at me for miscellaneous spending. But I did my favorite team of all time, the New York Yankees. How could it not be? I've been a fan since the 70s. Anyway, long story short, I get Judah Mack a Yankee jersey, which says Judah Mack, number 99 for Aaron Judge, the greatest current Yankee player. Within one day, the A fell off and the J is hanging off. What would you do about that, Jared? Would you call the company and bitch at them?
Heck yeah, I would.
Yeah, okay.
100%. You spent good money on that. So
Yeah.
for the record, my son Jacob also has an Aaron Judge jersey, so he's a big Aaron Judge fan.
That was literally one day. I just want to see if we can see Donna here.
Your audio, want me the name of.
So there's Donna.
Years. Oh my God. I cannot tell you. I don't remember my high school mascot.
So, Tim Jansen, again, do you think, Tim, that Daniel Rashbaum has been coaching his client saying, don't come off obnoxious, don't be an overbearing mother, be charming, you have it in you, and look at her here. The glasses aren't on, the hair is gray, there's no hair dye in jail, but I got to say, she looks good. I mean, she looks in good spirits. I don't know why, but she looks in good spirits. Did she get a lecture from Daniel Rashbaum? Has he been telling her to act this way?
Now, remember the email she sent to Wendy. You have to play the part. You have to act. If you have to act to win, you need to do it. She's doing the same thing she's preaching. She's acting and she knows what her role is going to be. She's preparing her lines and she's going to prepare her performance. I fully expect her to come out as a somewhat credible witness. I don't think the defense is, but I don't think she'll be as bad as Charlie. Charlie just came off as smug. And I think she's going to try to come off as an innocent grandmother who just loved her daughter and her grandkids, and she knows nothing about nothing.
Someone is yelling at me for going off on tangents, which is why I'm reading the comments. I can go off on another tangent saying I waste way too much time. This is it right here from Joando. Joel spends too much time going off on tangents of nonsense not related to the issue at hand. That's why it's my show and not your show, but I still love you. Please come back. Since you hate us, please subscribe. That is my message to you. We're going to wind this down. By the way, Tim is coming back tonight. Jared, are you coming back tonight for a full show?
No, today is actually my son's 10th birthday. So we will be celebrating his birthday. So unfortunately, I won't be able to come back tonight.
Happy birthday. But Tim will be back tonight. We're going to be discussing this in full this evening, plus some of the potential witnesses and what it all means for the trial ahead. There is a final question here, and I got a little inside scoop. A source close to the defense telling me that Donna will likely take the stand, although things can always change. Jared Ross, your final thoughts on what we witnessed today ahead of this trial, less than 2 months away now, plus does Donna take the stand?
Well, I think the biggest thing that came out of today is the fact that we are still on track for a September 17th start to this trial. I know a lot of folks have wanted this to happen and are ready for it to happen, partly because they want Donna to go to trial and likely get convicted and then see what happens with Wendy, but also partly just because they want the next step. And as far as do I think Donna will take the stand? Absolutely. I just don't know how else she explains anything away unless she takes the stand. The only thing, like Tim said, or like you said, anything can change. But at this point, if I were a betting man, I'd put money on it that she is going to take the stand. And thank you for all the happy birthdays for my 10-year-old.
What is your 10-year-old's first name?
Jacob.
Jacob. Happy birthday, Jacob. I hope you have a fantastic birthday. Tim Jansen, in the remaining minute we have, your thoughts about the hearing. What stood out to you the most? Does Donna take the stand?
I think 100% she's going to take the stand. I've called her the Velcro defendant, her and Charlie, because their defenses are going to be stuck together. He kind of forced her hand in her defense. But she's going to have to explain a lot, right? She has to explain the trips going to Vietnam. She's going to have to explain the bump. She's going to have to explain the emails. It's between the two of us. She's going to have to explain all of that, including, and those emails about dressing the kid up in Hitler uniforms and christening Christian. She's going to have to answer all that, and I'm sure she's working on it now. I'm sure Daniel will have her plenty prepared. The only key question is who's going to do her direct. Is it going to be Alex or is it going to be Dan?
And then there's a question from Godzilla Man. Who's going to cross Donna, do you think, Tim? Would it be Sarah or Georgia?
You know, that's a tough one. I think it'll be Georgia. Georgia's the lead prosecutor. Georgia's the supervisor in that office. She's got a good record of cross-examination. I think she will do that.
By the way, if you missed Jared and I on Court TV, too bad. We were on this morning. However, yours truly got invited back at 9 o'clock tonight to discuss this very case. So catch me with, I think, Vinny at 9 o'clock if he's not on vacation. I'll be on regardless. 9 p.m. tonight. Our show tonight on this, 7 o'clock. You guys have amazing questions. We're not going to answer this one now, but we will answer it later. Do you think Robert and Charlie testify? All these questions that you have, bring them to us tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. First 3 days of this week. We just took the case hearing. Donna and what's ahead for her tonight. The witness list tomorrow. New evidence Wednesday. Thursday is Koberger, the latest, with 2 authors on 2 separate books about him. And we are moving and grooving. We are shaking and baking. Jared, have an amazing time with your son tonight. Make sure to favor him as I favor my son. Get him an extra jersey on me. Tim Jansen, you only had 2 daughters, Tim. Do you miss not having a son, Tim Jansen?
No, I have 2 beautiful girls that make my world better.
100%. I've met them. 2 beautiful women and smart too. One of them an attorney. The other one runs the show. STS shows morning and night. That's how we roll. We'll see you at 7 o'clock tonight. Love you, America. Love you, Tallahassee. And of course, on a very
Cape
serious
Cod.
note. Oh, love you, Cape Cod. Go FSU, destroy Cal, even though my wife is from California. And justice for Dan Markel on a serious note. Let's these days are always tough for Phil and Ruth and Shelly. So we're going to be there for them in droves come trial time, September 17th. So justice for Dan. See you tonight, everybody. Have your questions ready because we got a lot to talk about. I just don't know what.